Let's talk about natural players.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the greatest player you saw?
Tom Finney. He's the greatest player I ever saw, yeah. Yeah. Tommy Finney was about 5'7", 7.5. 11 stone. And he had strong, sturdy legs. His calves were strong and he didn't have a big frame, you know. Which means he could let off the floor into the air. He was good in the air. He was sturdy legged, he was naturally left-footed. His control of the ball, closely controlled, was unbelievable. And he could attack you from the front, facing you, and run past you. Just shake yourself and you've gone, you've lost. A lot of players can play with their back to the goal or sideways and they get away with it, but he could turn around and face you, go up to you and deceive you, which is a difficult thing to do, and there's very few people in the game today who can do that kind of thing. There's a number of them threatened to do it. Peter Barnes was good at it, but Thomas was closer controlled than Peter Barnes. Peter Barnes makes an attempt at that, and a very good attempt, he's a good player. And but Finney was so close his control that he never lost possession. It was always his. And he was crafty, he knew where you were, and he had always the ball the furthest away from you, or his opponent. If you were on the left-hand side, Tommy had the ball on the right-hand side. So you had to foul him to get at it. And if you switched it round to the other side, he switched it and all. All the great players had a great awareness. Not only of his own ability, but of your ability too. So he would deal with you the way he thought you should be dealt with. So that Tommy Finney, his control was close, he was quick, he was elusive, he was on the byline, I don't know how many times, rolling balls back. Race Carter once told me, he said, if I played with him, he said, I don't know how many goals I would score in a season. He said, all I need to do was leather them into the net. And Carter could leather them into the net, incidentally. He would have filled the net up if he played with Tommy Finney in a team, in the same league team, at the peak, the both of them. Carter might have scored 100 goals over a season of him. So that was Tommy Finney. He had all the attributes and all the awareness and aware of his opposition. But above all, in the 18 yards box, if he got inside it, then he made a beeline for the 18 yards box. So when you tucked him inside that, it's a penalty. So he had the ability to beat you inside the 18 yards box. Now as you approach the goal, the pitch gets narrower. In the 18 yards box, it's smaller again, hence the congestion. And Tommy could beat you inside the 6 yards box. No disrespect to all the players who have been great players. George Best, a great player. Stan Matthews, a great player. Fantastic player, pace, everything, you name it, elusiveness. But Tommy had a ball, had more control of the ball than them. It was his. When he had it, it was his. And he was carrying it, it was still his. Some of them are carrying it, but it's not theirs. I couldn't emphasise any more. I mean, Cruyff, he could play in a different way, of course. Tommy was a player who was in a place where he could puncture a team from the wings, down the flanks, and get to the byline. When you get to the byline, the whole game changes. Cruyff and them didn't get to the byline. They weren't flank men. They weren't wide players like Finney and Matthews. Kopa, Real and Gento, both they could play. They were clever at that. They were in a bigger hurry than Tommy Finney. They all seemed to be doing it in a bigger hurry than Tommy. Thomas was more composed. They were more showy and flashy and twisty and turny. Thomas was more composed.
Put a price on him in today's market.
Oh, Tommy Finney, you couldn't even talk about him for less than £5 million. No way. And if I was a manager of a club and Tommy Finney was at his peak, I would have paid £5 million for him. Yes. Knowing what I know about him now. Yeah. Without doubt. Yes. No danger about that.
Tommy Doherty, for example, took over your shirt in the Preston team.
He did. Tommy came to Preston a few months after I left. Maybe the following season, I'm not sure, I couldn't tell you. I think so. Came about 1950 to Preston and played right half, yeah. The same type of player as me, Tommy. And I wrote to him and said, just put the jersey on, Tommy, and let it run round, it'll guide you around, you know. Number 4. Came and did very well. A very, very good buy from Preston North End. £4,000 from Celtic. Good player, hard man. I love Tommy Doherty in my team. I once said to Tommy Doherty, this is one of Tommy's jokes, if there were 5 Bill Shanklys and 5 Tommy Dochertys and a goalkeeper, I said, we would beat the world, Tommy. He said, listen, if there was 5 Bill Shanklys and 5 Tommy Dochertys, they wouldn't need a goalkeeper.
What about Tommy Lawton?
Tommy Lawton? Oh, yeah. Yeah, big player, great player.
And what
Great
about
player.
coming in with some of the more recent players? Law, Best?
Law, yes, Law was a special player. Yeah, great player. Full of enthusiasm for the game, full of awareness. Like Jimmy Greaves, of course. He scored the goals he should score. That's what made Jimmy Greaves so special. Jimmy Greaves is a great player. He stuck them in the back of the net regularly, the ones he should score. Now, this is funny you're saying that. The ones he should score, he scored. And a lot of them score spectacular goals, but the one that should score, they don't. So if Law and Jimmy Greaves scored the goals they should score, that's enough for anybody. So Jimmy stuck all the ones in that he should stick in, and so did Law. Took the side of their feet and said, thanks very much. He didn't blast them or tried to burst the net. All they wanted to do was to get the ball over the line, and they did it. So Law, yes, Lawton was a different player from Law, of course. Brilliant in the air, good with his feet. Law was brilliant in the air, good with his feet. Quicker than the rest of them, I think, in the box. Very, very quick. Because he was lean, he didn't carry any weight. And above all, it was the awareness of Jimmy Greaves. If you side foot it in the net, that was it. So you don't have any chance against him.
Funny thing about Greaves is that I've watched Greaves for about 10 years. When he got the ball, there was a certainty about it, that he could score. It was on.
Predictable. Yeah. He knew that he could score. Jimmy Greaves was a Mannion, a Carter, a Docherty, a Lynn Shackleton. They were all, blessed with confidence. Law. It was a gift that we're gifted with, If Jimmy Greaves and Dennis Law and a number of these other players were through on their own, with only the goalkeeper to beat, you could get your tea out and drink it. It's going to be a goal. They knew how to deal with the goal. If he stayed in the goal, they'd carry it up to him and put it past him. If they come out, they ran past, angled themselves and put it in from a bad angle. Because if there's no goalkeeper in, Jimmy Greaves will score a goal if he's a foot of the byline, and Law as well. So what I'm trying to say is that all the players that's playing now, or ever played, they should know what to do when they're ruining their own and all of the goalkeeper to beat. Now, how many times have you seen them ruin missing them? Hitting them over the bar, trying to chip them, doing the wrong thing. Every player should be taught what to do in every situation. If the goalkeeper stays, they do something else. If he comes out, they do something else. Law and Greaves and Docherty, Peter Docherty, and them, they knew what to do. So that if the goalkeeper stayed in, Jimmy used to take up to him and say, thanks very much. If he come out, he sidestepped him and angled himself and put it in the empty net. So these are the things that these men knew.
What's the greatest game you've ever seen? The greatest game in general terms, and then the greatest Liverpool game.
Well, the greatest game I've ever seen, that would be difficult to say. It was very one-sided. There was Eintracht at Frankfurt, I think, and Real at Hampden. I'm not too sure if it was the greatest game because the Real scored 7 goals, and that was great, of course, the goal scoring. I think the toughest game I've seen and the most tense game I've ever seen was between Man United and Real in the European Cup at Old Trafford, when they had got beaten there, United, and they were down 2-0 in 10 minutes at Old Trafford. It was a draw to each. I think that was the tensest game I've seen. There were really something at stake, the European Cup. But I think for me to sit down and say now the greatest game I've ever seen, I mean that's a very difficult thing to say. As a spectacle, possibly the Real Eintracht game, where there was goals as well as football. And I think if Real Madrid's involved in it, I mean that's something. In the friendly match when Real won 5-1, I mean they gave an exhibition that night after they scored the goals. They started playing it and doing tricks with it. But maybe the 7 goals, 3 goals, or the 10th game at Old Trafford. As far as Liverpool concerned, I mean all the games for Liverpool were the greatest games because Liverpool's the greatest team.